Today I want to talk about painting a busy city scene. My wife and I recently went to New York to visit our son who lives in Manhattan. And I usually take oils or watercolors or gouache with me. This time I took gouache. It's always a little lighter and smaller. When you're painting on a busy street corner, it helps not to have too much stuff that people can run into or draw attention to yourself. So I took gouache. I have a setup, and I'll talk about the setup in a minute, where I can hold everything in one hand and paint. So let's take a look at this. I'll show you my setup as well. So we are here. This is Amsterdam Avenue and West 123rd Street, not far from where my son's apartment is. And I'm looking for a street corner here with a lot of shadow, sunlight, a lot of variation of color, and enough clutter that I have to simplify things. I don't want things so simple that it's uninteresting. So having clutter in there is good, but we have to know how to make it more simple so it's readable and just doesn't look like a ton of detail with everything screaming at you. This is the scene here, and I moved forward ahead of that bus stop, and this is the scene here. And I'm in shadow, or I'm in the shade, which is always good. It's getting hot. And it was fairly busy. I do find New York interesting to paint in, because most of the time, people don't care. People don't even notice you're there. They just walk around you. But the few times people have stopped, they've been real nice. I've even had some store owners bring some food out. One smoothie maker brought me a smoothie, which was nice. So I've had a pretty good experience painting in New York. Anyway, I set up here. And my setup, this is a canvas board, where I've got the blue here. I bought it at Walmart, just a cheap canvas board. I did have a piece of light plywood that I cut a square out of so I can hold everything. But I found this canvas board a lot lighter, but yet sturdy enough to hold everything. And I have a hole right here where I can hold it. I put my thumb in there and kind of a thumb hole to hold everything up. This is a collapsible water container, and I drilled a hole inside the canvas board, and I just drop it in there and it stays. So I have everything right there. This is my watercolor palette that I squeeze the gouache into, and I just hold it on there with clips. This is watercolor paper, kind of a lightweight watercolor paper, heavy enough that it can take the wash of watercolor and not buckle, but not so textured and heavy that it kind of distorts the image. And they're all 6x8. I got a 6x8 inch rectangle in there. That's the size I decided to use. I could either do it vertically or horizontally. And my gouache colors here are titanium white, cad yellow. Let me see if I can at least make this. There we go. Now this is orange. I didn't like the orange. It was more of a muted orange. Wasn't bad. It's burnt sienna, rose madder, or lake madder. I forgot which one it was. It's kind of a basic violet, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue. And that was it. These are just dried colors that I didn't have anything in. But my problem was, and I don't show the colors here, I had a Winsor Newton ultramarine blue, which was good, but the rest of the brand of colors were a student grade, and they weren't very good. So I was very unhappy with how they performed when I was painting with them. And of course, a good artist always blames his materials when things don't go great. But I'm going to move to either all Winsor Newton, or I might try M-gram gouache. I've been kind of researching to see which gouache paints are recommended. And if anybody else has been doing a lot of gouache, let me know what you're using. Then my brushes down here are rosemary brushes. They're synthetic, kind of flat. And I have one small watercolor brush there for some line work. And that's pretty much it. Everything rolls up into this bag here, and I carry everything in a backpack. There's a sketchbook here. So it's very easy to use. I do like the setup that way. I just was not crazy about the paints. So I started, you can see here, I put my thumb in here and hold the brushes. Also had a paper towel in my hand there. And I started with a pencil drawing. using I think it was a 4B pencil. And I spent a lot of time on the pencil drawing, not a lot of time putting in detail, but a lot of time getting the proportions right of the big shapes. Probably did not need to do these steps here. It's just too much drawing. It'd be easier to draw them on top of paint rather than to draw around a little pencil drawing. With my pencil drawing, I want to keep things as big and as simple as possible. So even the windows, I really did not need to put those in because I'm going to fill everything in with big shapes, big values, and big color. But that's my drawing. Again, about 10 minutes, I erased some, so it wasn't like just a real quick, easy drawing. I wanted to make sure the proportions were right. The horizon line here, I didn't want it too high or too low. I wanted it low enough that I can get enough of the tree and the building up above, but I wanted enough room down below to have the shadows in there. And I didn't do a thumbnail drawing in pencil before this, but that would have helped. That would have helped set up things, but I was in a little bit of a hurry. So I start drawing, or I start painting the shadow pattern, starting down below the shadow pattern on the sidewalk. I want to get that down quickly because the light's going to be changing. But if I can establish the shadow paintings early on in the painting, then as they change, I don't have to chase the shapes of the shadows or shapes of the light. I'll have them established, within the first 15-20 minutes of the painting. Then here's a close-up more of that shadow. I don't have to go real thick at first. Gouache is opaque, so it's not going to be transparent. But I didn't build it up yet. I'm just like oils, I want to gradually build up the thickness of the paint. And I'm going to keep the shadows thinner and then go back and build up the light areas. Now I'm blocking in the background, the trees here. And again, looking at the photograph, there's a lot going on down in here. Trees, a lot more simple looking, but if I can find the overall value of this shadow, or find a color and a temperature and value that works, that suggests depth back in there. Same thing back in here, just a simple value and color. I want to see past all the clutter, the signs and the poles and the people. A lot going on, but I need to look past that. So I'm using violets, blue violet. They're all slightly muted, blue-green here. Again, muted with the complement. Muted the green with a little bit of kind of a reddish orange. Probably burnt sienna is what I used to mute that. And probably burnt sienna to mute the blues and the violets. That's close enough to an orange or a yellow-orange to mute blue and blue-violet. So again, shadows blocked in there. Again, the street scene. People are coming and going. I'm going to add some figures. But I'm really looking past all that, all the clutter. You have to, or else you're going to get caught up painting detail right away. So I imagine this scene with everything stripped away. Trees, light posts, fire hydrants, people, signs, and just think of a color and a value. And I can see it somewhat, but I have to understand what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create depth in there, in the shadows, that's going to make it look like depth, like there's distance. You're looking down the street and seeing way back in the distance. I don't want to necessarily try and copy what's there because that's going to be frustrating. There's just too much there to see. So I find these colors here in the background, these blues and violets, that I can paint on top of. I can put some clutter on top of there, and that's what's going to make it work. Right now it all looks pretty dark because the white of the paper is just so light it makes this look really dark. But I still have a lot of room to go darker yet. And that's the key. I don't want to go put my darkest dark way in the background right away. Now I'm starting to block in some lights. Got the light of the building here, light of the building here. And to do this over, I would probably use, this is orange. Orange with a little bit of violet just to mute it slightly. I probably would have blocked in this whole building just with orange. Because the more I can get things big and simple, the easier it is to break it down into smaller shapes and add some detail to it. But I broke it up a bit too soon. And it's always hard to resist that. Again, looking at the photograph, there's all these, the white values on the building, the dark reddish orange, the windows, this stuff in the window. There's so much there. If I were just to have used this, like a slightly muted warm orange and then a dark for the windows, just to get it blocked in, I think I would have gotten things along a little bit faster. But I broke it up a bit too much, trying to see too much in there. Live and learn. And I knew that. I knew to keep it big and simple. But sometimes it's hard to resist when there's so much there to pick from. Just like drawing this bicycle there. I like that bicycle. No reason to draw it, because I'm going to paint over it anyway. Paint over it with the street in the background. Then I would put the bicycle back on there. I ended up not putting the bicycle back in there. So don't waste time drawing detail in the beginning or breaking up your big shapes with too many small shapes and colors and values. Now again, I'm on my lights now. So the light sidewalk, the light street. Looking at the photograph again. Sidewalk's pretty light. I didn't go quite that light. And the street's a bit darker than the sidewalk. So what I wanted to do, I got the sidewalk not quite as light. I can always come back and lighten it up a little bit. I tend to get sometimes my lights too light. They can get kind of washed out. Plus, with gouache, once the water dries, it gets a little bit darker, which I don't mind, because when you have your lights a little bit darker than what you think, they're going to have a bit more color to them. The important thing is to have the right value between the shadow here and the lights here. I can adjust whether I have everything a lot lighter or a lot darker. As long as I have that contrast between the dark and light, it's going to work. So having my lights a bit darker is going to mean I have a bit more color in them, or can add more color to them because I don't have as much white. Here's my palette. You can see my lights. I'm building up a lot thicker. Shadows are a little bit thinner. And with a wet paper towel, I can wipe these out pretty quickly when I take up all the room on the palette. Cleans up easy. I didn't bring a squirt bottle with me. A little squirt bottle would have made that go a lot faster. So, continuing to block in, I went in and simplified the darks in here a little more. Same thing with the building up here. Just that warm muted orange first. Then I can add the lights on top. So don't break things up too quickly. The greens here, I'm just sticking with the dark green. I don't want to add any lights yet. I'm getting there. As you can see in the photograph, I've got this value of dark. I've got kind of a half-tone dark and then the light. And I want to break things down to those three values in the trees. And if I can do that, simplify that, just like everything else in the city scene, it's going to read a lot better. Because the tree looks pretty cluttered. And we can get caught up in individual branches and little small shapes in there, but we want to keep it big and simple. Well, I'm a little past that. So getting everything filled in. Trying not to worry about detail yet. Having these busier areas, I haven't filled those in yet. I'm kind of leaving those to last, even the tree trunks there. And now the tree trunks. Important thing about the tree trunks is that they're vertical. They're a vertical plane. They're upright, as opposed to the sidewalk, which is flat. It's a flat plane. So they can't be the same value. And I'm looking at shadow and shadow here. The shadow tree trunk has to be a different value from the shadow sidewalk. And I see the tree trunk a lot darker. But there has to be a difference. You can't just pull all the shadows the same value. They have to change value depending on the plane. Because the light's going to hit them differently. The light will hit a flat area a lot stronger than it would hit an upright area. So they have to be a different value. And the same thing with the shadows. Vertical doesn't have to be the darkest all the time, but it can't be the same value as a shadow on a flat plane or a slanted. And don't have many slanted planes here. Now I filled in the shadow of the tree a little bit more. I got a darker shadow and a little bit lighter shadow. Don't have the lights on there yet. Now I do. So you see the three values: darker green, kind of a lighter shadow green, and then the light. Within the light, I have a little bit more of a cooler. It's a yellow-green with a bit more blue, and then a yellow-green with a bit more yellow in it. And breaking up the building in the background, the awning, have a car here, starting to fill in this area. But I don't want to get caught up in too much detail too fast. This is the first area of detail of the tree. I think tree is real important in suggesting what the light's doing. That filtered light coming through the foliage. And then the windows back in here and the awning, I want to suggest that. It gives a lot of character to the street corner. Lastly would be this, which I had the least interest in, but I have to fill it in. So a little time consuming, but here I'm filling in. I'm just getting an overall value on their stairways leading up to some brownstones there. So just filling those in. Starting to add some clutter in the background, a few light areas in there. I've adjusted the sidewalk. I remember I blocked the sidewalk in a lot darker. I came back and added it a lot lighter. And for me, that's what painting ends up being, is just making adjustments as I go on, because I rarely get it right the first time. To get everything filled in and have everything work is a rarity for me. So I get everything blocked in, kind of step back, look at it, and make some decisions about where I need to adjust the values. And lastly, here's the finished. I didn't do too much to these over here. Don't much care. Got some figures in here. Figures might be a little on the small side. Could have made them a little bit bigger. I just dashed in a few lights in the background. I could have broken that up a bit more, but I think this reads better when I simplify this dark background area. You need to have flatter, more simple areas where the eye can kind of rest, and where the busier stuff, like this foliage, can stand out against it. If I get too busy in the background and real busy in the trees, then everything just jumbles together. Everything's screaming at you. Nothing makes a statement. So hopefully I've suggested the light here, and that's what I was after. Try not to get too detailed, suggest the light. Maybe use this for a larger oil painting on down the road. Well, if that was helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe if you would. And if you would like to watch another video on how to develop your sense of creating or suggesting what you see, watch this next video called Developing Your Own Sense of Color.